oil is focusing back on economic data, which is showing a lot more sluggishness in the economy. So reduced demand in the economy, reduced demand for oil ultimately, and I think oil prices are really kind of telling us a lot about the economic outlook going into the summer. But here's what you need to know before the bell. The rally's on, right? I mean, if you haven't noticed, market's been rallying here over the last, 4, 5, 6 weeks, ever since the April lows. And, the bullish sentiment is finally starting to come back. We're finally starting to see investor sentiment turn more extreme bullish. We're not there yet. We're still kind of in the middle of the ranges, but we're starting to finally see the evolution of people going, okay, the whole tariff thing, that's not a thing. The whole debt crisis, that's not a thing. The whole Iran war thing, that's World War III, that's not a thing. And they're starting to look past all these narratives, and we're starting to see that sentiment now turn much more bullish in the markets. And yesterday, the markets knocked on an all-time high in terms of the S&P. The NASDAQ actually hit an all-time high. The S&P was knocking right at it early yesterday morning. Did sell off a little bit in the afternoon, but not surprising. We've had a couple of really strong days here, but we're just pushing on that all-time high. Now, futures this morning are pointing slightly higher, so again, we're going to try to attempt this again. It's very possible we're going to set a high this week, a new all-time high for the S&P 500 this week. Again, you look underneath the surface of this, things are not extremely stretched. Things are overbought in some cases, but not extremely stretched. So there is some room here for this market to continue to push higher, but sentiment is turning much more bullish as we head into the end of the month. Now, July historically, as I've said before, tends to be a much stronger month. There's a lot of reasons for that, but the month of July tends to be a stronger month in terms of the seasonal bias. In fact, it's one of the stronger months of the year. August, September tend to be a lot weaker. So, if there's a risk here of another leg of a correction, which I think is entirely possible, we get another 5% correction sometime this summer. It'll most likely be in August, September, probably not in July. But, again, we'll see how things work out. But again, kind of just paying attention, we've had a short-term MACD kind of momentum sell signal. That's turning back positive, so that should flip back onto a buy today, particularly with the markets kind of pushing higher here. This will be particularly the case since if we hit an all-time high. As we talked about yesterday, the NASDAQ's already triggered a golden cross, and the NASDAQ, the S&P is very close to doing that. So a few more days of advance in the markets, we're going to flip the 50-day back above the 200-day, so that whole death cross will revert back into a golden cross as well. Typically suggests that you're going to get higher prices in the markets kind of in the near-term future. One thing that's been very interesting to watch has been oil prices, because we saw this spike in oil prices because of the whole Iran-Israel conflict when it started, concerns over the kind of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. That fell very quickly. So this spike was, basically the bombing when the U.S. bombed the nuclear facilities in Iran. But immediately after that, oil prices have just completely collapsed here. We're back on support down here at the 50-day moving average right now. We are holding up, but we're on a sell signal. Oil prices are pretty oversold here, so I wouldn't be surprised to see oil bounce here just a little bit. But it's very likely that oil is going to be stuck back down here in the 60s here, at least for a bit, potentially even the low 60s. So again, just from a commodity basis, that's kind of starting to align back. We kind of got past this whole Iran-Israel thing, and now oil is focusing back on economic data, which is showing a lot more sluggishness in the economy. So reduced demand in the economy, reduced demand for oil ultimately, and I think oil prices are really kind of telling us a lot about the economic outlook going into the summer. All right, that's what you need to know before the bell this morning.